Welcome, everyone, to Spiritualism 101. This is Lesson 8 on Mediumship. So, I'm the Reverend Carol Caesar, and on behalf of the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment, we are delighted that you are joining us today. We want to just let you know a little bit about the format of the class. First, we will have our opening prayer or invocation, and then we actually have a super special guest person today, which I'll announce in just a moment. But we'll have our lesson and discussion and practice. And then the last 5 minutes or so, we'll have an opportunity to meditate together and we'll close with a prayer. So that's the format of the class. And without further ado, I wanted to let you know that we have a super special guest today. Um, but anyway, shall we start with the invocation and then we'll just go into this super special guest? Okay, so I'm sorry, I was just so excited. I couldn't, I'm jumping the gun. So let us begin with our opening prayer. Let's take a deep breath together, everyone that's here. Infinite intelligence, thank you for bringing us together on our wonderful Spiritualism 101 class on mediumship. Let each one of us today listen with open minds, be willing to learn new things, and make ourselves instruments for learning, absorbing, and curious with questions and diving in so that we're really exploring. Maybe it's a subject we know really well, but there's little nuances that we pick up this evening. So we ask Spirit, make us aware of being curious, make us aware of being like a childlike and curious and open to Spirit. And we ask these names and we ask this in the name of love and light and truth. And so it is. Amen. Okay, so now I get to jump to our special guest. So our special guest is coming to us from the Church of Peace in Wisconsin. She's the director of the Church of Peace. She is none other than the amazing Siobhan Carlson. She is a national spiritualist teacher. She is a certified medium, a commissioned spiritualist healer, and just so inspirational. So and just has enough energy for all of us. Just we're all gonna get lots. We're gonna have so much fun tonight too. Because then you know what, learning doesn't have to be dry. It can be fun. And Siobhan is how I know that because she's just a fun, wonderful person and just. Oh, I can't stop talking about it, so I'm going to stop now and turn this over to Siobhan, and so she can maybe not so be so silly as me.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Carol, for the wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. As Carol stated, I am Charvon Carlson. I'm a national spiritualist teacher, commissioned healer, and a certified medium with the National Spiritual Association of Churches. Um, Mediumship 101 is what I'm here to hopefully do a good job that you guys get hopefully a basic grasp of what mediumship is, how we see it through the eyes of spirit, and how it works. And hopefully it'll inspire you to want to know more and learn more and go out and practice and do your own thing with it. My personal experience with mediumship or spirit work, I've always done it since I was a kid. I didn't know that's what it was called. I thought it was just like, that normal thing you did. Grandpa came to me in a dream and he told me to tell grandma, cut that out. And that sort of thing. So that's kind of like how it was in our family and how I grew up. It wouldn't be till many years later that I found out that I would discover spiritualism as an organization, as a practice, and development. So I have been, and since then, and mind you, when I came into spiritualism, I was looking to do healing, not mediumship. But as we know, healing is part of mediumship, which is what I learned later on. But anyway, so that's enough about me. So basically, mediumship is the foundation of modern American spiritualism. It is the understanding, learning, and proving of the continuity of life. Mediumship involves attuning to the world of spirit and using the connection to connect with those in the spirit world. Through these communications, it brings forth proof that life continues and allows those of us who are open to receiving spirit communications to grow and develop into the best versions of ourselves. So yesterday I had the opportunity of being at Morris Pratt to do a conversation about talking about spiritualism, talking about mediumship. And part of what I find to be the biggest thing about it is how it's not just about being able to bring messages from those on the spirit side of life to those here who are still here on the earth plane of their loved ones, letting them know your loved one is doing great. They love you. They're with you. They want to hold you. But also, spiritualism is mediumship is also an opportunity for inner growth and connection with the spirit within, because we are all spiritual beings. We are all possessed the divine spark within us. So we don't have to just be able to communicate. We don't have to just only connect in terms of trying to bring forth spirit messages from loved ones to those here who would like to hear from their loved one. We can also use this opportunity to connect for finding out more about ourselves, for developing our own spiritual growth and path, and how to, marry that with being, having this human experience, being spiritual beings, living the human experience. And that's the bigger, greater part, in my personal opinion, of why I think everybody should, develop mediumship or develop their own connection with mediumship. Carol, you can bring that other slide that you had up before back up for 2 seconds. We can go talk about that one. The types of mediumship. So there are, in my opinion, mediumship is an umbrella term that encompasses various avenues in which we can communicate with spirit. And I categorize them in like four main ways. There's mental mediumship, there's trance mediumship, there's healing mediumship, and there's physical mediumship. Mental mediumship, the next slide, is when spirit acts upon us or through the mentality of the medium, and spirit uses the medium's senses to convey the messages. So we all have five senses, and they call the psychic sense as the sixth sense. You don't need the sixth sense to access the spirit side of life. Your five senses work just fine. Again, as I stated earlier, we are all spiritual beings. So there's no point in which what you're doing here in the material world isn't allowing you to also be able to connect and do it on the spirit side of life. You are spirit. So you're not learning, really, we're not learning to connect with spirit as much as we're learning to connect with the spirit of ourselves, within ourselves, and to trust that we are connecting with it, to trust ourselves. And that's the beautiful part of developing our mediumship. So with mental mediumship is just utilizing your five senses. You don't, like I said, the sixth sense is just something somebody came up with to try to say, hey, there's more. There are five senses to connect with spirit, whether you do it through the clairs, if you want to bring up that slide, the clair senses, whether they're clairvoyance, which is seeing, clairaudience, which is hearing, clairsentience, which is feeling or sensing, like what, right now, if you touch your fingers, you can feel your fingers. Claircognizance, which is knowing, where you just know, right? Or sometimes somebody will ask you a question or you'll go somewhere and you'll just know, like, no, that ain't right. Or, yes, that's exactly what I wanted to do, kind of thing. And then the clairaugustus tasting. There are multiple other smaller clairs, but these are kind of more of the main clairs. And clairs, the definition of clairs is seeing, clear seeing, right? So we hear clearly, we see clearly, we feel it, we know it clearly, we taste it clearly or smell it clearly. And the reason why you want the clear part of it, get to the clear part of it, is that trust piece. It's that huge trust piece where you are trusting that what you're seeing, you're feeling, you're tasting, you're hearing, etc., is exactly that's what it is. And to know that that's what it is, you have to know yourself, one of the things I like to always say to people, when you know yourself, when you go to start working with spirit and working in the spirit realm with spirit, you have to know what is yours and what is spirit. But to know what is yours is to know you. You need to know you, not just the physical you of how tall you are, how much you weigh, whether you're which if you walk one way or you talk a different way, but also knowing the essence of who you are, knowing how you feel, how you interact, how you engage, how you show up for yourself, how do you show up for others when you go out into into the world and you come across other people. How are you connecting with them? How do you talk to them? How do you greet them? What does it smell like to walk into the bakery? Right? What's the first smell that hits you? How is that? What is that doing for you? Paying attention to your physical surroundings really helps you to develop and grow your spiritual understanding of what's going on in the spirit world. And when spirit loved ones or spirit teachers or your spirit guides, teachers, whatever you want to call them, right, come forth and are working with you. But if you don't have any sense of that for yourself, then one, there's the trust isn't there, right? You're doubting yourself. You're like, I'm just making this up. This is just a fantasy. There's no way this is really happening. But also, especially if you're doing mental mediumship work, which is basically where the medium says, I will say, hi, my name is, may I bring a message to you from the spirit side of life? I have your loved one here. You're trusting that I'm bringing you that information. And as I'm bringing you that information, I'm bringing you evidence that it is your spirit loved one. But for me to bring that evidence through as clear and as honest as possible, I need to know what's mine and what's the spirit loved one saying. I got to know the difference between us, right? So if I have my own personal biases or my own personal belief systems or my own personal way I think it should be, I need to know that that's the way I think of things. I need to know that, that's mine so that when the spirit loved one walks forward and they give me something that's kind of like not mine, I can trust, okay, no, this is them. This is not me. Like one of the things that I find that spirit loves to do with me, especially other people's spirit loved ones love to do with me to help establish that, is they'll give me taste that I can't stand. They'll give me like I'll taste black licorice and I'll be like, oh God, that is so not me. I would not, I would never come through and tell you I love black licorice, but they're saying they had a great love of black licorice, right? And so you're sitting there going, okay, that's not mine. I know that's not me. Or I'll smell something that I've never smelled before. And I'll be like, I don't know what the smell is, but it has like a sweet note and the higher note is more like an amber. I feel like it's an amber liquid. And I'll give you that description, but I wouldn't know what it is personally because it's not familiar to me. And I know it's not familiar to me. So I know that I'm bringing you information from spirit. Now, not to say that spirit won't also use your knowledge, but you have to know when spirit is using your knowledge to help you bring forth the messages clearly as possible versus you using your knowledge. If someone shows you a pink elephant, right? Spirit love one bring forth a pink elephant. And you're sitting there going, I don't want to look crazy, but I okay. I'm just gonna give you what I got. I see a pink elephant. You know what the pink elephant means. I have no idea what the pink elephant means, but I'm going to give you straight what the spirit is presenting me because it's not for me to interpret because that could be coloring, right? We can end up coloring the messages, and that's something a term from the Morris Pratt lessons where coloring is where we're putting our own impressions on it. We're putting our own interpretation on it. We're putting our own stuff on it. And that's why it's so important to know you. Okay, before I go any further, were there any questions or comments or thoughts around what I've said so far? Nope. Okay. All right. So the next slide, which is examples of mental mediumship. Spirit greetings, which is something where I talk about where the medium will bring forth a message to you. This can be done one-on-one, and this also can be done in a group setting. The group gallery setting, it tends to be what happens during church service. It's the spirit greetings. We bring you a greeting, not a reading, right? The medium gets up and gives you and tells you during the service, or calls on you, asks you if it's okay to bring forth a message to you from your spirit loved one. And it's usually hopefully a shorter message. One, and in that message, being able to establish who it is in some way of some sort of description or memory or something that the spirit loved one gives you to help them to connect that. Like, yes, you do have my grandma, and then gives you a short greeting of, and grandma says she loves that color red on you. You should wear it more often. And I love you and I'm with you. Something like that. Evidential messages that's tied into the spirit greetings, but these goes more into messages. So the messages can be longer, and it tends to be more in like a gallery form setting where you might sign up to go to a mediumship gallery where the medium will call upon you in the audience, and the reading goes a little bit longer. So it's more of a reading, but in that they start giving you a lot of more evidence. They're giving you not just I have your grandmother, but they're saying they can even just give you a woman, describe her, being 5 feet tall, and she's got brown hair and she's got beautiful blue eyes. And I feel like if I'm using my feeling senses, I feel like that she's rounder in the shoulder area and smaller in the hip because my hips feel more narrow right now. Or I can do it where I'm seeing her and she's wearing a blue shirt and brown pants and polka dot shoes. And she's talking about, or I'm hearing her and she's saying to me that she loves chocolate ice cream and she only eats it on Fridays and so on. And that's where I'm utilizing all of my senses to make this communication and this connection. And the reason for why I say it's our senses is because it is the senses we use in the physical realm, we are also using in the spiritual realm. And to develop those senses for the spiritual realm is to develop them in the physical realm. Um, the other examples of mental mediumship is healing, like hands-on, lay on hands healing. When we're in person, I may raise my hands slightly above your shoulders, near your ear. If if I do, I could ask you for permission if I can lightly lay them on your shoulder. If that's not something you're comfortable with, the healing medium can just stand there and hold them over you. Or there can be an absent healing where they just sit in quiet meditation and send healing to you from the healing spirit. And that's a whole nother. I believe I saw you guys' classes line up, and that was the last one where they go deeper into healing. So, but healing is a part of mental mediumship because you don't necessarily see the healing force working through the person. That person, once they've sat in your chair or your imaginary chair because you're doing it over the phone or you're doing some form of distant healing, um, they will feel the healing, and healing goes to where it needs to go. Inspired, right? So inspirational. So then that inspirational is inspired writing, inspired speaking, inspired painting. So in my services, I do inspired speaking for our talks. I don't write them down. I'm not inspired to write it. I'm inspired to just talk. So spirit will step up, our team of spirits will step up and say, this is what you need to share with those who are present. This is what we feel like they need to hear from us through you. And the reason why we call it inspired is because I'm doing the talking. I am just allowing spirit to drop the ideas in me, and then I'm verbalizing them in present. Same thing goes with inspired writing. There are a lot of people who, when they do their talks, they will write it out. They get inspired to just write down. Like it could be, they may have a Sunday talk that they're going to do, but the inspiration about what to talk about on that Sunday comes to them on Monday. And they love writing, so they'll go and sit down and write the whole thing out, and boom, they've got their inspirational writing for that Sunday's talk. And then the same thing with speaking, painting, music. any form of creative outlet you can think of, you can be inspired by spirit to develop or to share that with others. It's not limited to, and it's not limited to just like painting or writing or talking or singing or music making. If you're an accountant, it can inspire you to find that number that you've been looking for. You can just like, because I've done it, right? Because I work in finance. So I have had moments where I sit there going, okay, Spirit, what are we doing? This doesn't make any sense. Help. And all of a sudden the thought will come to me of like, look at that folder or reread that line again, or or pull that paperwork or call so and so because they'll know what it is, right? And then boom, I do it, and all of a sudden everything, the answers are there or it works out. I'm like, I'm unstuck. So there is no point in when you cannot work with, and this is also what I was talking about earlier, opportunities to work with spirit in all aspects of your life beyond just connecting with the loved ones on the spirit side of life. And then you also have the things that not a lot of people do anymore: X-ray clairvoyance, where they see things in like an X-ray where they can see it, or speaking in foreign languages. There are people who they'll go into where they could do mediumship in Germany and in Austria, and they may never speak any of those languages, right? They can be in Kenya or South America, and they don't speak any of those languages, but as they're doing their message work, as they're doing their mediumship, what comes through is being able to speak in the languages of the person that they're sitting with and of the loved ones. Now, I cannot speak in foreign languages. I have studied foreign languages, but I cannot speak in foreign languages in that way with spirit. But I can identify when I hear it. I'm like, oh, I can hear, and an impression will come upon me of like, that's German, or that's a region of Austria, or that's a region of Greece, or that smell is going to connect me to Ireland, of what I think of Ireland. But spirit will work with what you know to make those connections for you. And then it's improvised poetry, which is basically free, what we call freestyle, where you just write and the poem just flows. You may start off with an idea of a poem, like you want to talk about fishes. You have the idea of fishes, and then you write out the poem about fishes, right? And also, it doesn't necessarily mean when you're doing inspirational work that you are working with things you know already. You can be inspired on things that you never thought of or never learned yourself. You could be inspired to all of a sudden pick up a book about dinosaurs, and then the next thing you know, the next day, you run into someone who asks you a question about a dinosaur, and you're like, well, you know what? I just read about that yesterday, and here's your answer. That has happened to me multiple times. And I'm not talking about dinosaurs specifically, but where it's a topic or something that I knew nothing about, and all of a sudden I was inspired to learn about it, and then I would like walk away and go, why did I need to know that? I don't know how many times I've said to my, why did, and then literally maybe hours later or days later, I will connect with someone who has a question around that, and I'm able to answer it for them. I'm able to give them, share that information and that resources. And that is a way that mediumship, that's another form of working with spirit. An example of this was, I decided I wanted to know what the AARP was doing beyond, what we know on TV, and they send you the card, and I'm not old enough yet. I am actually, but I decided to do an AARP. They did a hairspray thing where you went online, and I got to watch hairspray for free. And I learned about an AARP group on Facebook that you can join called the Ethels, and all this stuff. So I'm like, wow, I didn't know AARP had all of this stuff. Literally, like a few days later, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and her mother, who's elder, is coming to visit her, and she's thinking of things of like, what can I do with my mom, and things where my mom can find things for mom. I'm like, well, you know what? Look to see if there's an Ethel group around you. And AARP does these different videos that you can movies or movie watches or whatever that you can sign up for online. And she's like, wow. Thank you. Because I was really trying to hear. And mind you, after I shared it, I had no desire to go back to everything I had learned about AARP. Never returned. Didn't go watch another video or did sign up for another play or go on a trip. It was literally just for me to know it, to be able to share it with someone who needed that information. And at the time I was learning it, I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I was just inspired. I was inspired. And then there's prophecy. I, and the common thing between mental mediumship is that it is the medium working through it, and it's not necessarily what people see on the outside. So, like, I can bring a spirit message to you from your loved one. I can write this inspired poem. I can share with you about the AARP. You don't see spirit in the background. You're not seeing spirit standing there and telling you, like everybody in the room isn't witnessing this. You're trusting and relying on the medium to be bringing forth to you honest and clear and as honest information and communication from the spirit side of life to you. I'm gonna take a breath. Any questions? No? Okay. All right. So there's a discussion question that was in the slides, which I like. Um, but I'm going to kind of switch up the question a little bit. So instead of telling me what you feel your strength is in terms of what you understand about mediumship or what you want to learn, or like what's that working muscle with your senses, tell me more about, if you want to, it's volunteer, share what, maybe with a few sentences, what which of your senses do you find that you rely heavily on in your day-to-day living?
Can we put them
Miriam?
back up? Can we book them back up? The list?
Sure.
Sorry.
Did what I miss? Do you need
Oh,
the
I
question
was gonna
again?
ask if Carol could put the list of,
Oh, okay.
sorry. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
I think just a knowing, clear cognizance.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I rely heavily on that. Um, I don't know, trying to think. Yeah, because I've never seen things. It's funny, I think spirit knows that I would be terrified if I saw anything. So it just plants it in through, either a dream or just like a knowing.
Okay. And how do you use that in your day-to-day living? That
Um,
knowing.
um, I've come to trust it much more as I've aged, so I use it a lot more now than I did in the past. So I use it to make decisions about things that bring me joy and um, yeah, make
Awesome.
decisions
Awesome.
basically. Yeah.
Oh, good. So
And
Arlene, I see you said you rely on your intuition and you would like to connect more to spirit. Well, your intuition is spirit connection.
then, Hmm.
Your intuition is like the start of you connecting already with spirit. You start with that intuition, that hit, that like, I got something that I know. And then so it's not about connecting with spirit more, it's about trusting your intuition more and allowing it to grow and utilize it more in your day-to-day living. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I guess I just don't always have those kind of intuitions. I wonder how to have them more often, but that's probably the same thing, just trusting it more, and then I'll probably
Yeah, hold on a second. I
happen
gotta turn
more.
up my volume. My volume must be really
Yeah,
low.
that's very true.
Oh,
Many times I just ignore things.
yeah. So and we all do that. You'd be surprised how often spirit will say, Siobhan, don't do that. And Siobhan does it anyway. Or my intuition says, I think we might want to not go and that we're going in it. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it just makes things a little harder than they need it to be because I'm like, guess I should have just listened at the beginning, kind of thing. But that is Spirit's way of starting that communication with you. In my opinion, intuition is just that opening, that opportunity to start that opening. And when we start listening to our intuition more and start utilizing it and working with it, then we're creating and building a bigger connection with the spirit world. It's your spirit and the spirit side of life. All right. Does anybody else want to add?
I can share.
Okay.
Um,
I'll let Alan.
yeah. I think I utilize a lot of the feeling senses, taste not so much. I never really get a sense of taste. Definitely seeing. Those were the two major ones. And through the years, I utilized them a real lot. And then I realized I wanted to kind of build up on my hearing sense because I would notice that I'm like sitting, say, on the subway and I'm observing and then I'm getting a feeling from my observation. But when I was communicating with people, I wouldn't really be listening as well. So I started
Mhm.
kind of building that up a little bit more. And I noticed in my language, I'll say, I hear you saying this. And, so I'll notice that I am utilizing that sense more. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to see what my tasting sense can do.
I-
But I'd like to really kind of get to utilize this mediumship, put them all together a little bit more, and see what kind of messages develop. What kind of messages am I actually hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, feeling, to be able to give it to someone else, the information to someone else. I haven't done that too much.
Okay. One of the things, because I just learned this, I don't know why. Well, it just popped in my head. One of the things to help everybody with wanting to develop that senses is when you stop, when you kind of tone down one of your senses, it heightens the other. So
Hmm.
you want to feel the texture more of food, you plug your nose
Hmm.
because you're not going to smell it, but you'll feel the texture of it more so. Because when we eat with the smell, the understanding of in our sight. We use our sight and our nose, our smelling more so to eat the apple and know it's an apple than anything else. But if you plug your nose and close your eyes and bit into the apple, then you're getting into more of that texture and also trying to guess, was it an apple? Right? For feeling, remember those games as kids where you put your hand in the mystery box and it would be like cold spaghetti or slime in another one, and you're like, ew, what is that? Well, that's a kid thing. It's also another way to work on the actually your senses of touch, of feeling, of knowing that feeling. Um, Hearing, close your eyes and just listen to the room you're in. Or, I mean, Ellen, I've given you this exercise, so I remember that too. But doing that exercise where you're listening in the room you're in, then close your eyes and try to, because closing your eyes allows you to focus on and heighten the hearing. Um, and when you're out in public or when you're with people, actively listening, like when you hear, like, how we do meditation, and Ellen, you're really good at doing meditation, but you also understand with that, it's not so much getting rid of the thoughts as much as staying in the moment. So working on that active listening is about staying in the moment with the person who's talking, where you're listening and not listening for the pause. You're listening to what they're saying. You're taking that in, you're absorbing that, and you're willing to take your time with that. One of the challenges of especially American society is we're always in a hurry. We got to get this done. We got to do that. We got to do that. We got to do that. And part of how we lose touch with some of our senses and our connections is because we're already on the next thing 25 years down the road to the left on the other side of life instead of being in the moment. And the thing about mediumship development is being in the moment, sitting in this moment, feeling and seeing and tasting and understanding in this moment. And to develop those senses, it's being in the moment with each of your senses and working and building them. They're a muscle, it's an exercise. You just keep exercising those muscles.
I noticed, if I can add, one of the things also that helped me to develop a little bit more in the hearing sense was to mirror back what they were saying. So if I, hear you correctly, you said blah, 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 you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
So
that
that
makes
helps.
you really listening. And then you getting clarity on that helps the person you're talking to also be like, did I say that? Because how many times have we said stuff and we forgot we said it within seconds of saying it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So that's a beautiful practice. Yay. All right. Was there anyone else that wanted to contribute? Susan?
Hi.
Hi.
Um, Carol spoke so highly of you, Charvon. Charvon, is that how you say it?
That is
I,
correct.
I get your energy. I feel your energy. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome.
Of that list, I, the ones that I have had experience with were clairsentience. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
And claircognizance. Um, in that, and I have not had anything in the ones related to hearing or smelling or tasting. Clairsentience. I'm having, is that clairsentience?
Yes,
Do you say
yeah.
clair or clear?
I guess it depends on your accent.
Oh, okay.
There are
Clairsentience.
people who say clear. There are other people who say Claire.
Experience has shown up with, I think of a person and then they call me.
Mm-hmm,
Or if I call them
mm-hmm.
and they say, I was just thinking of you.
Right. Right.
And claircognizance, I tend to think of as intuition. Um, for me, I listen to my intuition a lot when I'm choosing an action to take. And sometimes I'll say, oh, I know that if I did that, uh, like if I put the rice on the stove to boil and I walk away, I'm likely to forget about it. So I make sure that I don't do that.
Right.
Or some other choice I'm about to make when I know the consequence is it's clear that one consequence I would be not something I want. And I often will choose the one that's more appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct that intuition would fit into that one?
Intuition would fit into claircognizance in a knowing. It's
Okay.
something where it all of a sudden comes upon you. I know this.
Okay.
Right. And so a knowing would be, like you said, if you leave the room, the pot will overflow and because you'll have forgotten about that you had put the pot on the stove. I've done that myself. Or knowing that that street isn't the street you want to turn on. You don't know why you know it. You just know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you're driving or walking. I know I'm going the wrong way. Nothing said I was going the wrong way, but I know I'm going the wrong
Mm-hmm.
way. Or I know that if I stay on this path, even though everybody's saying you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't do that, but I just know that I should. And you just go
Mm-hmm.
with it.
It often shows up when I know that one of the choices would not be good. It would not be in integrity, and
Mm-hmm.
and I know I shouldn't choose it. So often I will hear that. Sometimes I won't. The other thing is when I lose something in the house or I can't find something in the house usually, and I go looking for it, often I'll find it when I go into that room for something else. And oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say that that was divine intervention, and maybe it is in a sense. Something other than my looking for the object had me go into that other place, and there it is.
Or just there's a knowing, there's a doubt, like go there. So,
Yes.
like an example, just yesterday, I went in the other room. I'm like, I don't know where the mouse to my computer, my laptop is. I can't find it anywhere. I've looked everywhere. And she's like, did you look in the trash can? I'm like, oh, there's one that I missed looking in. And as I'm walking to the trash can, I look down. There's the mouse upside down in front of it. Wasn't in the trash can, but it was in the path to the trash can. And because it was upside down and it's black, it matched the wheels on my chair. So that's how I kept missing it. But she got she got dropped trash can. And from that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the trash can, but something, then I got dropped, but look in the path as you go, which is how I found the mouse on the floor, but not in the trash can. So that's kind of like, that's that intuition or that knowing, that's the clear cognizance dropping in and then actually listening to it.
I use the rice boiling
I wasn't even actually planning to listen. I was actually planning to go, well, I didn't look in the trash can. I'm not going to go do that again. But I was like, no, go look at a different one. So.
I used the rice boiling on the stove example because that happened to me last night. And I'm going, I smell something burning. I'm in here on my computer. I go in the kitchen. Oh my gosh. I had to throw that rice out. It got burned.
Well, thank you for sharing, Susan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else wanted to share before we move on to the next slide?
Yeah, I wanted to share and ask a question. I feel like I get a lot. I just get a lot of input through emotional channels, and I guess I view that as clairsentience. I don't know if that's exactly.
Yeah. Am I freezing or are you freezing?
Like I take in so much emotional input. I have so many strong emotions that I do feel I have a little trouble sorting out what emotions are mine, what emotions are other people, and what's like, how is that differing from a sort of quieter voice of intuition that's coming through? So I'd love to hear insight on that, but that's kind of my thing.
So there's a couple things that are happening. Okay. So one, you're very sensitive to the environment around you in terms of the energies you're picking up that other people are putting out, including your own. So the first thing you've got to do is first know yourself. This is again a great example of why you need to know your stuff. Before you walk into a room, take a quick scan of what you're feeling, what your body's feeling. Do a body scan from head to toe. What does your top of your head feel? And then do a quick check-in, emotional check-in with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling, what's your feelings? Are you having thoughts or whatever before you walk into a room with people? Then when you enter the space and you notice that you're feeling different, that's where you can go back to what you just did. You just did a scan before you walked in the room. So you know what you feel. So now you can identify what's yours and what's you're picking up in the environment around you. Okay. So that's the first thing, is being able to separate. And that's in my opinion, the easiest way to do that, especially if you're empathic. It sounds like you have more of an empathic way of existing. My wife is more empathic than I could ever be. So I do that with her where I'm like, okay, how do you feel right now before we walk into this store or walk into this movie theater or go to our friend's house? Because I have literally watched her emotions shift greatly because she walked into an environment where that energy in that environment totally shifts how she's feeling, and she's not making the connection that it's not her, it's the environment around her. Now, she wasn't feeling that at all before we walked into that space, right? Then in terms of the intuition portion, when you know what's yours, then into the intuition part, or the dropping in of the whisper of, hey, let's try this. You're going to be able to identify it as talking to you, because now you know you. And when you hear that whisper, that nudge, oh, okay, it's for me. Versus I walked into a room and your emotions have changed, or your feelings have changed, or your energy has shifted in some way. And you're like, ooh, that's what they're feeling. And then you're able to, anything you're hearing at that point, that's probably not your stuff. That's their stuff. And your intuition tends to talk to you when they want you to hear them, not when they want you to be confused that it's somebody else talking to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's so helpful. I had this experience the other day where I was feeling bad and I was not even with other people, but I was thinking about another person that like I've got some stuff with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me, maybe I'm not feeling my own feelings. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling either what they're feeling now or some energy from them. And suddenly my whole internal situation shifted. And I'm really excited to start trying out new like more differentiation because that's where I'm at.
Yep, yeah, that's very important. Like I said, taking those quick scans and doing what you did, which was, wait a sec, you paused. Something that, again, our society doesn't encourage. Just something that we should incorporate is pausing. Let's take a moment. Let's not hurry up and react. Let's respond. And response is taking a pause before you give forth whatever your action is going to be, or what you're going to say, or what you're going to do, or how you're going to feel about it. We're going to like take that pause, take that breath, and go, wait a second, is that, like you said, wait, is it because I'm thinking about them, so I'm dragging that energy that I know that they have into my energy and letting it kind of influence me and how I'm feeling about myself. Let me take this moment and try distancing myself from that energy of what I'm thinking about them for a moment. And then, so that thing. I'm sorry, Carol.
I was just going to add, so would you distinguish them between like psychic versus mediumship with this discussion?
Oh, yeah. So let's do that. So, real quick, psychic and mediumship. Psychic is energetic connection with people who are here on the earth plane. Um, Psychic is just as much work doing mediumship, but it's a different form. You're working within the energy field of the person. So when I do psychic, when I go psychic, let's say I'm going psychic with Carol. When I'm going psychic with Carol, going into her auric field. I'm going into her energy field, that area, space energy around her, with her permission, of course. I always say, ask permission, people. Consent, consent, consent. I'm a huge fan of consent. But I'm going in there with consent into her energetic field, and I'm picking up or reading information from her energy field that she may not be paying attention to, or that she may not be wanting to tap into for herself. You know, how many of us have had that friend that told us that, or family, or whoever, a person who has said something to us that we went, you're right. Dang it, why didn't I do it that way? That's kind of like what a psychic is basically doing. They're being that person that's like, well, Carol, you've been doing it this way for how long? And from what I can see, you have an opportunity to do it this way if you choose. But you've got to choose that. At least to me, that's what a good psychic is. They're kind of like they're not psychiatrists, they're not medically, whatever, but their goal is to draw out of you to tune in, tap into yourself to find the answers and to find where you might be wanting to, you know, make some adjustments if necessary for where you're trying to go in life. Mediumship is about connecting to spirit and the spirit side of life. Again, if I'm working with Carol, I'm going through mediumship. I'm not wanting nothing to do with her energy. I don't want nothing to do with her energy. I want the spirit loved one that she has to come through and connect with. I don't want nothing to do with Carol's energy at all. Obviously, I can't get away from it because she's an energetic being. I'm an energetic being, and we're in the same energetic field, and so I'm going to be somewhat connected. But I'm going to shift my focus to the spirit loved one, because here's the thing: I could look into Carol's energy and see her mother as Carol sees her mother, and give her all the information about her mother as she believes about her mother. Medium me is going to go to Carol's mother and connect with the energy on the spirit side of life and talk with her and bring forth that energy from her about what she wants to share, information about her that she wants to put out. And it'll have nothing to do with Carol's perception of who and what her mother is. It's going to be what Carol's mother's perception of who and what she is, not Carol's perception of what her mother is. That is the difference between a psychic and a medium. The psychic is reading the energy around you, your energy. You may have a loved one in that energy that you really loved. That's going to show up in your energy field. And a psychic can tap into your love for that person. A medium is only looking to tap into the loved one on the spirit side of life and bringing that information forward. They're not looking to tap into the loved one that you know in your energy. That's why evidence is, there's no right or wrong evidence. The evidence, the best evidence is the one that helps you to understand and connect immediately, that I brought through your mother or your father, or your sister, or your brother, your friend, etc. That I'm bringing that information from them, that you go, oh my God, that is totally her or him or they, or what have you, and not the information that's in your field of what you think or want from them. Stephanie?
Hi. So
Hi.
a question then. I was doing a little animal communication class, and
Mm-hmm.
I was having a conversation with the horse that is still alive. So would that then be more psychic than
That is
mediumship?
psychic. That's going to be more psychic. That's not going to
Okay.
be mediumship. The horse isn't dead.
Yeah, right. But he,
Mediumship is about connecting with spirit already
right.
on the spirit side of life. So,
Right. See, so thank you, because I wouldn't have had that distinction without your explanation. So I appreciate that. And then I always felt like I was more claircognizant.
mhm,
But when I was speaking with the horse, I saw things. So I didn't realize that I was clear. He was nodding his head at me and
mhm.
showing me things he would do with his legs. And I actually even visualized a treat that he loves to eat. So it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And psychic work can help you work on and developing your senses
Hmm.
to be utilized in mediumship. Now, the saying goes, not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychics. I'm not so sure
You agree with that?
that there needs to be that type of distinguish. It's energy. All of it is energy. What's important is to know what energy you're reading. Knowing the energy, that's part of why you need to know yourself.
Mm.
Know your own energy, know what your energy is doing. Understand that when you walk into a room, and you're extremely open to that, you're picking up energy of the people or animals in that room with you. Knowing when you start working on the spirit side of life with spirit people on the spirit side of life, that knowing that spirit energy. All of this is knowing the energy and knowing when it changes and when it shifts and where it's sitting. The psychic is mostly working with energy here on the earth plane with all of us. We're all here together, on this earth plane. Our energy's closer because we're all closer together right now. And we got a heavier energy, right? Because in order to be on the earth plane, we've got to have weight because of gravity. Gravity is holding us to the center, else we fly all over the place. And we have a material existence, so we're going to be working more with things of material. Psychic also helps with, as you if should you choose to develop your psychic skills, it also helps with you taking that next step towards understanding you don't need proof all the time to know that what you're doing is what you're doing, right? You don't need these objects. We all want tools, and there's nothing wrong with using tools, but part of getting to the point in mediumship is understanding the tools are necessary to connect with spirit. And you may have to start off in the psychic realm, because in the psychic realm, there's lots of tools that you get to use and play with, to work with and to develop with. And then as you move away from the psychic realm, moving into working on your mediumship level, you discovered that the more you trust and know yourself, the easier it is for you to trust your communication and connection with the spirit side of life. And just an aside, you can't do evidential psychic work. I've actually seen it done and I've actually done it, where you
What's
can
that?
bring forth that the psychic can just be just as much development and work and focus as mediumship. It's just not, you're not working with the same energy. Does that make sense? All right, any more questions on that? All right, so we're going to move on to the next slide, which is trance mediumship number 2. Trance mediumship involves connecting with one spirit or a consistent or a group of spirits. And the practice of trance is when the medium moves into an altered state to allow spirit to communicate through the medium with little to no interference from the medium. This communication can be done through various forms. Basically, when you go into a trance state, you're moving into an altered state of mind. And altered can be light, where you're kind of mental mediums doing mental mediumship, the spirit readings, they're doing it, they're in an altered state. It's just a lighter altered state. They're not out cold and you know, but they are in an alter. I do shift into this altered state because I'm shifting into being more connected and hearing and working with the spirit side of life than I am with those of us here on the earth plane. So there has to be I have to have some sort of altered state. I have to alter my state. So I'm not, I might be looking in your direction. I don't see you, sort of thing. My eyes are open, but I'm not paying attention to anything that's in front of me. I might turn my head this way and you think I'm talking to the air and I'm seeing the spirit loved one standing there and telling you this, and I'm talking back to them or what have you. You may hear me while I'm doing messages say, okay, hold on a second. Okay, can you clarify that? I may actually say it out loud instead of saying it in my head. So I'm in a slight altered state, which is a trance state. And there are different levels of trance. Real quick, pull that. Do I have it? I'm going to go over it. So no, I don't have it open. But so like I said, in trance, there is various forms of trance work. So it's trance speaking, trance writing, drawing in trance, painting in trance, poetry, and music in trance. And what that basically means is you will allow the spirit communicator to work through you to create the message in whatever form that is, whether they're painting it or they're creating the music, where they're writing or they're even speaking through you. That's what trance is. You are surrendering. Oh, no, I don't like the word surrendering. You're blending with spirit, and spirit is the one doing the predominant of the communication. So as I said earlier, the medium on the platform is in a slight altered state. Spirit isn't taking over the medium, or isn't completely blended with the medium to where it's spirit talking through the medium, but they are blending so that the medium can feel those energies along with seeing and hearing what they're saying. They can also feel the spirit loved one's energy blending with their energy. And then as you go into deeper states of trance, their energy is blending more over top of you. You're not taken over. You're not possessed. It's a Hollywood thing. It's just you are allowing, and you have to give permission. None of this happens against your will. You have to be willing to do and open to doing it. But as you go deeper into a more of a quieter state for yourself, where you are literally quieting yourself and moving out of the way, so that spirit can step in and work. Examples of that is like when in writing, the person is left-handed, but all the writing is happening with their right hand. And it's perfect writing, or perfect, the words are perfect and easy to read, or the drawing is happening. And this person could, and the medium isn't a drawer. The medium ain't wrote nothing ever. That doesn't even have that type of neat handwriting. Or the medium, or they're talking in a foreign language. The medium doesn't know that language at all. Has never heard that language, but the spirit person is on top, is blending with the medium to the point that they're able to talk through, write through, and create through the medium. But the medium isn't the one creating the art or creating the thing. And to do that is to shift into an altered state of mind. And the deeper you go into a trance-like state, the more the spirit person on the spirit side of life comes through and is working through the medium. An easy way to understand this is like healing. In healing, you move out of the way to allow the healing force to go through, work through you, through your spirit to the spirit of the person that you're sending healing to, and working with their spirit, and then there's a flow. The more you get out of the way, the more the healing spirit can work through and work with the person in your chair. Or if you're doing absent healing, that you're sending the absent healing to. Again, you're just the conduit. Any questions on that? No?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Uh, I guess I wonder, just like, I've seen trance mediumship and I find it very interesting. And I guess I wonder, how do you develop that? How do trance mediums develop that skill? Yeah, I mean, is it just, is it typically something that just comes very naturally, or is it something that you can work up to?
No, you can work into it. Again, trance mediumship that's where trust and allowing and letting go of being in control really comes in. It really is required to work in trance. And to get to that point is a lot. I mean, it depends on the person, right? There are people who are like easily like, yeah, let me go to sleep, do your thing. I don't care. I'm going to go to a Tahiti while the spirit is working through me. And there are those who are like, wait a second. Can we talk about this? Are we sure we want to do it this way? So you have that whole gamut. So when I go into trance work, I don't go completely out. My level of my need for control, I made a deal. I'm not going completely out. So how can we do this? And they'll say, well, you could stand on the side and watch. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Right. So it is working with spirit. It's having it's having those conversations. It's working through your own fears or worries or concerns, and what level you want to get to, and making that comfortable for you and making that safe for you. But it is, especially for us on the human, in our individual bodies, living this human material life, releasing control, or allowing someone else to move and work through us. I mean, think about allowing somebody else to take over your life if you're not a kid anymore. Somebody else just walks in and says, hey, I'm going to pay your bills. We all might say, oh, that sounds great, until it happens, right? Until someone is paying your bills every month.
Yeah.
And someone is walking into your house anytime they want to, and rearranging the furniture, and deciding that they want to paint the walls blue and you want green. It's that relationship that you are developing. And that's why in trance work, a lot of people who work in trance work with one to two, or I mean, they may work with multiple spirits, but they're going to work with certain ones for a long period of time, because it's truly a relationship. So think about, on the human level, in terms of your own human life, how do you interact and relate and with other people, especially people you're close to? will tell you how well you'll do, or the areas you might want to focus on in when you're developing your trance work. If
That
you're
is
a
really cool.
person who likes, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just
If you're a
wanted to say
person,
that, yeah. I just wanted to say that's so encouraging because I'm pretty new to this stuff, but that sense that like in my prior religious experiences, not, I mean, religion might be the wrong word, but like, uh, there wasn't any room for negotiation. And I have found that to be true in this iteration of my spirituality. And it's very helpful to me to have that confirmed that like, that's part of it.
oh yeah, it is. So like I worked with like 5 different individuals on the spirit side of life for a period of time during trance work, and only those 5 people, because I had to develop a relationship with them to be able to release my need to be in control while I'm in trance state. So it's very important to understand how are you in relationships with other people, whether it's friendship or love ship or family ship or whatever ship it is. How are you in those relationships? That's going to determine how well you're going to work with spirit in the trance when you're working in trance. You're not a great talker, right? But you need to have these conversations, right? Or you don't like to give up control of anything. You're gonna have to like talk to yourself and with spirit. Okay, where can we make some deals? Let's make a deal. Like I do, let's make a deal all the time. We're gonna have bargains. We're gonna have boundaries. Because I don't like to give up control, but I also love doing trance work. So I gotta find this balance of how can we do this where I can still do this work, but I'm not completely giving over myself or feeling like that I'm totally abandoning myself to something. But if I look at my relationships, my own interpersonal relationships with people in my life that I'm close to, it's the same thing. We're gonna have conversations. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna set some boundaries. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna coexist in a way that is both healthy and honest for both parties or all three or all. Especially, I raised 2 boys and I have grandkids, so those dynamics and those shifts and those relationships change, but it's that same conversation. It's that same how I work and go through all of that, and you may actually have to get outside help to help you through it. Just like in mediumship development, you may have to find a mediumship tutor, take some classes, or go to workshops, or find somebody who's willing to work with you, because sometimes that outside help will help you in that process. Ellen.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me lower my hand. I was thinking one of the things that helped me, not because I didn't realize that maybe I was doing trance work, but I think what was a good start and might be a good start is how deep can you go when you're meditating? Because when you get into meditation, you get into a deeper state, a deeper set of trance. It's like that's maybe one of the first steps. So to meditate and to know how deep you can go in meditation.
And that's a really good idea to start with meditation, because meditation, part of our struggles, some people struggles with meditation, is being in a state where you're trusting that this is working. And you have to be relaxed, you have to be still. You have to allow what's float through your head to just float. Don't stop and focus on it. Let it go. Put it, put it in a bag, put it in that sort of thing. So meditation can be a great way to start getting your system and working with your own mind in terms of developing or working, getting up into trance. But meditation is also great for even all of the developments, all of them. Susan.
I'm fairly new to spiritualism, and I haven't yet observed trance within spiritualism. I know Steve has trained to do it. Maybe others here. In popular culture, would it have been what Hollywood was attempting to display in the movie Ghost when Whoopi Goldberg was taken over by a spirit, the deceased of her.
That's more physical mediumship than it is trance.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Although she was speaking as if she were that person.
right. But the thing is that everybody, how we look at that in terms of physical mediumship is because whoever's in the room can see it too. So technically, we all could see it because it was a movie, but the spirit overtaking her spirit, which happens in physical phenomena, that is physical phenomena, but it's everybody present can witness it, not just the medium telling you what's happening. We all are seeing it. So, like when he put his hands over her hands while she's doing the clay, you're seeing her hands over a lot of his hands molding the clay. Trance would be more along the lines of he's not in it. He's there. His body is a part of it and blending with the spirit, but the spirit is the one making the clay. The spirit is the one communicating. He is there just holding the space and the energy to allow spirit to work in his energetic space.
And we wouldn't have seen him.
You wouldn't have seen her. Well, you wouldn't have been paying attention to her. You wouldn't have seen him. No, you would not have seen him. You would have heard him. You would have known that you would have had a feeling like, oh, wait, that's not something she knows how to do. That's what he does.
Oh.
But you would not have seen him. That would have been more of a physical phenomenon if you saw him.
Another example I have from outside of spiritualism is Esther Hicks. You familiar with her?
Mm-hmm.
Her voice changes when she's giving a message.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's not, I believe she's left the physical.
Well, Esther Hicks, from what I understand, she becomes Abraham. Her spirit entity is Abraham, and Abraham is talking through her. So that would be a form of trance work. It's not necessary for your voice to change for its spirit to work through you.
That's one example I've seen.
They're using your voice box, so that's why their voice doesn't have to change. But yes, Esther Hicks would be an outside, more popular example of what trance mediumship work is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions on that? All right, so we're gonna go over physical medium. Oh, go ahead, Arlene.
Okay, so before it seemed we were talking about intuition and this feeling, but then now you're talking about going and talking to these spirits and telling them, I don't know if I want to, you can't completely possess me. So that's quite further along that you're actually going and talking to these spirits. So are you saying that if we work with our intuition and if we just keep going, then automatically it will develop into that? I mean, if we try.
Well, no. So it's not automatically develop into that. You start with the individual, whatever avenue you need to be comfortable connecting with spirit. So in your case, intuition is something you're comfortable with. So spirit's going to work with you through your intuition. But as you develop, or as you choose to develop to work more with spirit, and you let spirit know, okay, I want more. I want more than just a understanding, right? Can you come to me when I'm meditating? Or maybe we can have a 5-minute conversation at the grocery store together. And as you continue to develop, that's the development part. But part of that is trusting that you're communicating with spirit. The only person that can tell you you're doing that is you. So that's that. So intuition starts with you building up working that muscle to be comfortable working with spirit. But then you start asking spirit either through a form of meditations, or you're taking classes or what have you, where you're developing that muscle and expanding it to where you're comfortable with, okay, I don't just feel like John is here. I kind of see John. I kind of smell John. I kind of I feel John's hand on my shoulder. And
Mm,
then you trust that, oh, that is John.
mm, mm, mm. Yeah,
And then you start talking to John.
yeah, that is something. My husband did die several years ago, and I'm going through that. Is that him? That is a
So
very
it's
real thing.
also trusting that spirit is connecting with you at your pace, though. It's going to be at your pace. It's going to be what you're comfortable with. Because they're not trying to scare you. They're not trying to
Yeah.
throw you across the room and it's not poltergeist. They're going to work at your speed, at your rate, and you are going to determine when you're ready to take it beyond to that next level. Right now, you're comfortable with intuition, so work with that for a while. And then when you're ready for the next level, then you say, okay, I'm ready to know more. And I'm going to say this to everybody. I've said this before to those of you who have taken classes with me. Your best teacher developer is going to be spirit. Hands down. Spirit is going to be your greatest teacher, your greatest person to work with in terms of your development. The reason why, just like everything else, that we talk to each other, we call each other, is because we're having a physical experience. And because of that physical experience, we want some sort of like other people to validate and make it feel more tangible, more like something we can touch and feel. Then it's all in my head. I'm crazy, that kind of thing. Um, Only crazy people don't think they're crazy, by the way. So, but your best, so as you are
Mhm.
ready for that next step, you can take that quiet moment with yourself. Trust that you are talking with spirit or spirit is hearing you and saying, okay, I'm ready for more. I'm ready to do the next thing, whatever that is. But you decide, you get to decide. And that's the other thing, you are always in control. No one can do anything against your will. You have to give up your power for other people to take power
But I
possession
get
of you.
thoughts that I don't want all the
Oh, we
time.
all have thoughts we don't want, but doesn't mean that's not our thoughts.
Chatter, just chatter. I mean, I don't seem to be in control of that. That's one of the things I'm
We're
working on.
how do I put this? Remember that we only use like a very small percentage of our brain mass.
Yeah.
And we also communicate mostly non-verbally. We're big time non-verbal communicators. The
Mm,
vast majority of people communicate non-verbally more so than they do talking. And we all are like looking for those cues.
mm,
That's why card sharks are card sharks because they figure out like I'm looking for your tail, I'm going to find your tail, you're going to give me your tail, and I'm going to be able to know when you have an ace or when you don't have anything in your hand. They're looking at your nonverbal cues. They're not listening to what you're saying. We're always putting out our energy. We're always putting out our thoughts. We're always putting out what we really feel and what we really think. It's all written all over our faces or in the way we touch or talk. Okay. There are no secrets from ourselves. We may think we have a secret from ourselves, but there are no secrets from ourselves. So you're going to have thoughts that come that may be your thoughts or may not be your thoughts.
mhm,
You've got spirit, a lot of spirit. Look, I have a very bossy grandmother.
mm.
The way she was here on the earth plane, she's the same way on the spirit side of life. She
Huh.
hasn't changed. So when she has something to say, she gonna say it. Will she come and say something to me and I know it's her? Not necessarily. I might just have this thought drop going, what the hell did that come from? That sounds like my grandma. That kind of thing. So understand too that you're going to, and also we're also energetic beings and we pick up on each other's energy. Our energies blend and connect all the time, whether we're in the same room or we're on other sides of the earth. And so you're also going to pick up chatter from other people's chatter. So you might want to look at that as, I've got this chatter, right? But who's around me? Who is influencing me? What did I watch on TV last night? What's the last book I read? What's the last conversation I overheard? Is that why I'm having this chatter? Sometimes the thoughts and stuff in your head may be more influenced about what you were doing before it happened or who was doing something around you. Because we all have peripheral vision. Even if we don't pay attention to our periphery, we all have peripheral vision. Things are happening all around us, whether we're focused on it or not, it's still happening. The dog can run across the screen, but I'm not paying attention. I might have noticed the dog run across the screen, but I'm not paying attention to the dog that ran across the screen because I'm not focused on that. Doesn't mean the dog did not run across the screen. And I may later on, when I'm going to bed or doing something random, go, you know what? I saw a dog running across the screen.
Yeah, they say, yeah, you won't see it. Yeah.
So, hope that
Thank you.
helped. You're welcome. All right. So I want to go over physical mediumship real quick, and then we take a 5-10 minute break, get stretch and get breath, everything. So with physical mediumship, as we were talking about, like someone brought up in terms of Ghost, the movie, physical mediumship is where it produces observable physical phenomena. The magnetic aura and vital forces of the medium are used to create tangible manifestations that can be seen, heard, or felt through the senses of all who are present. Spirit operators and chemists could draw ectoplasm. For understanding, there's some research being done where ectoplasm isn't being used as much anymore. They're doing other forms of way of doing energetic manifestations from sitters and mediums to build the energy for manifestation. Um, what that basically boils down to is physical mediumship is when there is a medium who, again, is in a trance state, usually extremely altered state. They're in a deep, deep altered state where the spirit communicator on the spirit side of life is working through the medium's energy to produce physical phenomena that all who are present can also witness. This can, obviously, using all of your senses, again, all 5 senses. And examples of physical mediumship is spirit rapping, as the Fox sisters did when at the beginning of modern American spiritualism, where basically everybody hears a tapping. Trumpet mediumship, where there's these tubes that are collapse into each other, shaped kind of like a trumpet, that spirit will through the medium's energy and the energy of everybody in the room, because everybody has to participate in physical phenomena. Because the more energy you got participating, the more phenomena can be produced. But where they'll pick up the tube and they'll use the tube to talk through the tube. So it's like a disembodied voice. You don't know where the voice is coming from, but you hear they're having conversations through the tube, and the tube is floating around the room. Which is direct voice, where we all can hear this voice, and it's not coming from the medium. It's like somebody take recorder in the middle of the room, push play, right? And you're hearing someone talking. Materialization, where the spirit entity can materialize in the space where you can see the outlines of their body or the full body. Levitation, where the medium rises up. It is like being moved. It looks like they're just floating around the room, but spirit is actually lifting and moving them around. Apports, which is more of like drops of, from what I understand, First Spiritual Church of West Dallas, many, many, many years ago, apparently they had a strong mediumship circle, trance or physical mediumship circle that they held, where they were roses and rings and things would drop into their circle. Slate writing, where you put a piece of chalk between two slates, they close them together, bind them together, put them in the bag, put them in the middle of the room during a physical mediumship gathering. And when you're done, you pull out and you have writings on the slate, where spirit was writing on the slate, and so on. So all of this is physical mediumship is produced where everyone present can see the work. You don't, it is not you depending on the medium to tell you what's happening. You're seeing what's happening. Any questions on that? So physical mediumship is, I've sat in 2 physical mediumship circles. I enjoyed it. It's not my thing. it, and that's more my own thing. It's not, there's nothing wrong with it, but but I do, but that is a lot of work as well for the medium. Susan, I'm sorry.
What is ectoplasm?
Ectoplasm, I don't have the term like memorized, but it's basically this, I call it like, I'm not going to say that word. I'm going to say gauze. It's like a gauzy material that comes out from the medium, whether it's through their, like a belly button, it can come out of their mouth, come out of their ears, it can come out of whatever. And on the end of it, it connects. So the gauzy material can come out of the medium, connect to like the trumpet that's in the middle of the room, and lift the trumpet up, and then the disembodied voice is talking through the trumpet. Or it can, like, the pictures I've seen, it just, anyway, I'm going to leave that for y'all to research. But what I understand in more modern physical circles, there ectoplasm isn't being used as much anymore. It's more of working with energy, like using more of a energetic connection and making it happen through it, more of an energetic work. Because the dangers with ectoplasm is if anybody touches it, if anybody, or if suddenly the door opens and light shines on it, it can harm the medium. Okay, Ellen, and then Steve.
Okay. I sat in on one physical circle, and it was held in the dark. And I don't know, most physical medium circles they're held in the dark. Is that correct? And
I think
why?
not so much anymore. There are physical mediums that are starting to work more with having light in the room.
Mm-hmm.
It was believed when it started that you needed to have complete darkness, and the person needs to sit in a cabinet covered, the medium, and everything happening outside of that. Again, I understand physical mediumship. I've only sat in like 2 circles. And it's not something that I've been strongly pulled to do, but from what I understand, I have heard from other physical mediums that are starting to talk about working in the light, having not necessarily bright lights, right? You don't want clinical level lighting, but having more of a light so that people can see more, and finding it not necessary to have such darkness. You know, sometimes things are traditions, like we do it this way because we always did it this way. Someone came up with night. It's like the story about the turkey. Why did we tie the legs of the turkey? It's because the oven was small, but everybody thought it was a family tradition to tie the legs of the turkey. But actually, it's because the ovens were smaller back then. So tying the legs of the turkey made the turkey fit into the oven. So that kind of thing. Steve.
Yeah, because I know the table lifted and was kind of moving back and forth and stuff, but because I couldn't see it, it made me go, okay, they're really doing something, or so it lost that sense of trust in the whole thing because it was in the physical darkness. Whereas I think CSC once did the table tipping, or table moving, and that I actually could see and feel and know that we really didn't have our hands, physically on them, but just kind of hovering over it. So that was like a little bit more believable
Right.
And the other thing is, when I was really, really, really young, we did the old game where you put two fingers under a person and one other person put two fingers under their person, and we do this light as a feather, stiff as a board type thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then lift them up with just our two little fingers.
Hmm.
Now, was that a form of levitation?
That was energy. That's energy work.
Oh,
You
okay.
all are doing energy work.
Hmm.
One of the things that a lot of us as humans underestimate is how much energy we possess
Hmm.
and how much. Think about it in terms of what they call mob mentality.
Hmm.
Mob mentality is really when a large group of people get on the same wavelength about something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if that's our energy just going boing, we're all locked in and we're going to do this. And we're going to make the light of the board, well, heavy board, light as a feather. It,
Hmm.
I'm not saying spirit isn't involved. Spirit, obviously, it's all okay. Let me say this: we are all spirit, so spirit is always involved.
Hmm.
So, not saying spirit's not involved in it, but a lot of that is your energy connected with the other person's energy and the other person, and a trust circle.
Hmm.
Trusting that you're going to do this, and you all trust it, and you all lock in and say, "We're going to lift you, stay stiff as a board, and we're going
Hmm.
to lift you up with our two fingers," and it happens.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, that's the key of trusting yourself and then everybody working together in that trust to allow to shape and move the energy. Table tipping, both is happening. Spirit can be helping you move the table, or all of y'all sitting around the table together is lifting the table because of your energy. Spoon bending is not necessarily physical mediumship. Spoon bending is you using your energy, your mind energy, your energy to bend the spoon. But you've got to trust that you can do that. Does that help? All right. Stephen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Let's go back to ectoplasm. Uh, Again, physical circles, they tend to work with spirit very closely and follow the instructions that they receive through spirit. And there have been some, back in the 19th century, early 20th century, there were several circles that were allowed to take samples of ectoplasm. It comes out of the body of the medium from some orifice, different orifices from different mediums. The issue with ectoplasm is it would go back into the medium's body. The samples that were analyzed included skin cells, epithelial cells, fat cells, organic material from the body, and dust. So you were typically working in non-sterile conditions, and whatever the ectoplasm was picking up would go back into the medium's body. So a lot of early physical mediums had health issues. And like Ellen talked about, working in total darkness, ectoplasm is light sensitive. Okay. And some of the legitimate spirit photographs where ectoplasm has been photographed, again, the circle was advised how to do that. Um, Now, my own personal experience, I've been working with Richard Schuller's transphysical circles out of Sharon Sweebus' church in New Jersey for 3 or 4 years now. They're working toward red light again, so that to the point where we can do Zoom sessions in a physical seance with people from all over the country. Robin Hodson's circle in England has been working with red light. So the spirit wants physical phenomena to come back as a practice of physical mediumship, but they want it in controlled conditions where it's much harder to commit fraud. As Ellen said, in a dark room, who knows who has their fingers under the table and is lifting it, okay? Um, with table tipping, the best examples of table tipping I've witnessed is where the medium opens up their table. It's usually a folding flower table, plant table, and kicks it, and it starts walking around the room. Both times we literally had to chase it down and capture it to bring it back into the circle and begin using it to answer questions. That's and it's broad daylight, so that's good table tipping. So yeah, we're always encouraged to test the phenomena that we're witnessing. Make sure that as Siobhan has said, that more than one person is feeling it or seeing it or hearing it or sensing it. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. And that's the other thing too. To also, I'm really glad Steve brought all of that up because, like I said, I'm very lightweight in physical mediumship. But I'm glad he brought all that up. But another aspect of physical mediumship to also bring up in terms of is that is an area I personally believe that you really need to work with people who really have been doing it for a while. That is not some, and I don't recommend doing it alone ever. Most mediumship, even trance mediumship, you could probably get away with doing it alone. That I do not recommend on any planet to do alone. And then really study that, really get understand it. I feel physical mediumship is a whole, it's a beautiful opening, but it's a lot more to understand. It's a lot more to be really serious about. Remember how I said about mob mentality? So the other thing with that there tended to be naysayers with physical mediumship is that if one person says they saw it, you had most people say, yeah, I saw it too. So you kind of got to work on like making sure that everybody's giving their honest account of what they saw or didn't saw, and avoid going, well, she said it was okay, so I'm gonna do it too. Because how many times have people been kind of influenced to do things because they're in this group or they're in a circle? So that is another aspect of physical mediumship that has to be paid attention to. Carol.
I guess I grew up in church where our our medium spoke, and usually they spoke in trance and they transfigured. So we actually saw in broad daylight the spirit that was working with her. And so, but that's physical and it's in broad daylight. So it's that I know she was a well-known physical medium. That was, you know, people would tell stories about sitting with her just chatting at the convention and a
Mhm.
spirit just materializing right next to them and talking, um so I grew up with that, but I guess that's not that common that much, or is transfiguration still pretty common?
Well, no, transfiguration is still common. I don't think as many people focus on transfiguration as they used to. But no, it's still a common thing. I did transfiguration in a class with Ron Hudson. And everybody saw where it was that came through. I didn't know. I knew who it was in terms of my mind. It was cool. And I like transfiguration because other people are telling me what they see. I'm like, yep, that's who it is, that kind of thing. Um, but I don't know how, again, I'm not in the physical mediumship world as tightly, so I'm not sure what everybody's working on at this point. But transfiguration was something that Ron Hobson, and it was daylight. We weren't in the dark when we did it because it just what that is spirit is overshadowing the medium's face, and you kind of want people to see it. So if you're in pitch black, you're not going to see it. That overshadow. So you want the light. You want the light. And in terms of um, the materialization, the thing about this darkness is, as Stephen pointed out, the ectoplasm piece of it, because ectoplasm was sensitive to light. But materialization and transfiguration doesn't require ectoplasm to happen. If someone is going to overshadow my face during a transfiguration session, they don't need my ectoplasm to do it. If someone has gathered enough energy from the room or wherever they are or whatever to physically materialize in the space, they don't need the medium's ectoplasm to do it. It's just that it's harder. It's hard. They're working their butts off to physically manifest, materialize. So,
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I always just thought that was ectoplasm, so that's energy.
it's they're overshadowing they're working through the medium, and the medium is pulling back and trusting and allowing the spirit to step over, to overlay, so that you can see them.
And it is pretty cool.
It is cool. It is cool. I actually enjoyed it when I did that workshop. So, all right. So at this point, I think we should take like a few minute break, stretch, go to the bathroom if you need to, take breaths in, breaths out, jot down some thoughts that you might have about things, and then we'll be back up at, what do you think, 7:50? Is that good? Well, 7:50 my time, so it's 8:50 your time. That work for you, everyone? All right.
Okay, and we're back from our break, and I'll turn it back over to Siobhan.
Okay. So real quick, we'll touch on healing mediumship. I do believe that you guys had a class on healing, so we won't really delve into it. We'll just go over it like just briefly, super brief, and then we'll move on to practice time. Um, Basically, healing mediumship is where the healing force works through your spirit, and through your spirit goes and works with the spirit of the person that you're giving healing to. Examples of healing mediumship is the laying on of hands, distance healing. There are various different ways of practicing healing. There is the Reiki practice that a lot of people will do. There's the shamanic healing practices that are done. And of course, throughout the world, multiple cultures have various different ways of doing indigenous healing practices. One that I that excites, one practice that I've seen that excites me, that I actually um, watched, is there's a tribe in Africa, on the continent, that I don't remember the exact country or location, where they all get together in a circle, and the person that needs the healing is sat in the middle of the circle, and then they start the drumming, and then they start the dancing and the chanting around the person that needs the healing. So that's another way of practicing healing. The NSAC form is either through distance healing or hands-on healing, and the thought process is you just allow the healing force to work through through your spirit, into the spirit of the person that's receiving the healing, and that is how the healing practice is done. And you yourself is going to go sit on a hammock or go for a walk in the meadows, while the healing force is just using your channel, as your channel, to channel the healing energy to the spirit. Okay, that's the shortest thing about healing I've ever done. So we're moving on to practice time. What are you guys comfortable with in terms of practice? And what are you looking to practice? I mean, mental mediumship obviously would be easier in this format, and we could do something as simple as a round robin, where you just take a moment, we all take a moment. Well, I'll guide you through like a short, brief connection, a way of attuning. And then you can we could do one word colors. Also, before I move on to that, we are getting close to the end of the actual time of our class. So if you need to go right at the time that the class is ended, feel free. But if you'd like to stay on a little bit longer, we might go over a little bit. That's fine as well. Okay. All right. So I'm thinking in terms of time, and everybody not get so nervous. We'll just do a quick little getting yourself into the room. Everybody take a breath, feet flat on the floor. If you can, if you're in a position where you can put your feet on the floor, just take a breath in. Land into your body. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Connecting to that energy light in your heart center. We're going to work from the heart center. And just feel the warmth and the light of the heart center inside of your chest. And feel it growing inside of you. moving throughout your entire body. And breathing it in and out. In and out. And during this process, just asking spirit, your spirit guide, spirit teacher, whatever you may want to call it, whatever works for you, terminology that works for you, just to step in to work with you in this moment. And when you feel comfortable with that, and thanking them for allowing you to work with them and you allowing them to work with you. Coming from a space of gratitude. And without breaking the connection, return back into the room with us. And that's it. So while you're in this state, I ask you just, can we get in the gallery view? Everybody can see each other. And just take a moment and allow Spirit to say to you, is there someone that Spirit's drawn or you feel drawn to talking to? And just all we're going to do is give a color. Actually, now we're going to give an animal. I love animals. So, so when you connect with that person, just give them an animal. And how I want to do this is that I'm going to tell you who you're going to. Let me get a pen and paper real quick. And just an animal. So it's not stressful. Don't overthink it. Don't go, oh my God, I'm going to get this wrong. There's no wrong answer. And we're going to start, basically on my screen, we'll just go this way. And we're going to start with Clara. If you can just take that breath, allowing Spirit in and asking them to have you give an animal to Stephen. And whenever you're ready, unmute yourself and just tell me.
I saw a lizard right away, like the bearded dragon.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Actually, normally I wait until the end, till after we do it all, for people to make comments, but we're not going to do that this time. So, Stephen, how's the bearded dragon? Want to give any feedback on getting a bearded dragon?
Gee, Sharvan, you must be psychic. Thank you, Clara. My daughter, who's been in spirit, went to spirit at age 34 in 2009. Lizard was her favorite power animal. So thank you very much, Clara.
Welcome.
And I've got goosebumps, so I know she's here too. Thank you.
For sure, because I had cat on my mind. I was like, oh, cat. And all of a sudden it was like bearded dragon. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, she and I were both cat people too, so thank you.
Oh,
She was with you.
okay. Great.
Okay. Yay. All right. So, Steve, you're next, and you're going to give an animal to Ellen.
I understood my instructions to give an animal to Ellen.
Yes.
Okay. First impression was a gazelle. A gazelle. Okay. Thank you.
You're well. Thank you. Ellen, you have any feedback for the gazelle?
Yeah, I am not really sure what that is representing. I would have to think about that one for a while.
Well, I could see the gazelle. I see why he saw the gazelle for you. Gazelles.
Yeah.
But yeah, research gazelles. It'll totally make
Okay.
sense to you.
All
Yeah.
right. All
But I
right.
could,
Yeah,
but I
I'll
could
do
totally,
that.
like when he said it, I just saw it. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it might have been some significance, but yeah, there's another animal that I totally associate with. So I was like, okay, not that one, but yeah, I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
And just remember that spirit has a way of wanting to also will utilize these opportunities to introduce new things to you
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
new ways of saying things.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah, thank
And
you.
of course, we also have jokesters over there. So
Yeah. Well, I'm now I'm interested in gazelle, so,
I
and
think you'll
I'll get back to you, Steve, when I find out what that is,
awesome.
what Spirit's trying to tell me on that one.
Okay, cool. All right. So, Ellen, you're going to get an animal for Miriam.
Okay. Hmm. The eyes are telling me something. What is the animal? Cat. Cat comes to mind.
So, Ellen, I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
And
You think there's something else there,
I want you to give more than just a cat.
huh?
I'm going
Okay.
to give me some details on the cat.
All right. All right. It's brown and spotted, long haired. Um, as I look at the feet, I see little white paws, long tail, and very, very gentle personality to it.
All right.
Yeah, there's definitely attachment to it.
All right. Miriam, do you have any feedback you want to give on the cat?
That sounds a lot like a cat I had several years back. So,
Mm.
and we were actually just talking about him yesterday.
Ah,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
Wow.
All right. So, Miriam, Stephanie is the person who get an animal to share.
Okay.
It's time for bed.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm getting a hamster, but it's not like a real hamster. It's a plush, like a plushy. It's like a, like a kid's toy hamster, and it's kind of big, like a pillow, but it's a hamster.
All right. Stephanie, any feedback on a hamster? Actually, hold on. So, Miriam,
More details.
yeah, you've been in the class with me. No,
Yeah.
actually, I don't want you to do more details. I actually want you to pull back from the hamster what's surrounding it.
A kid, a little child, um, a little girl, and she's she's handing it to you.
Okay. All right.
Can I
Thank you,
ask a
Miriam.
question?
Go for it, Stephanie.
Is this child one that has crossed over, or is that
I
child?
don't think so. I think it's like to me, it's sort of a representation of love coming your way, but it doesn't feel to me like a spirit that's crossed over. Almost like I get a lot of these like where I get a dream where a person that's alive and on somewhere else in the world sends me a,
Okay, so what I'm going to have you do, Miriam, is I wanted you to go back to the child,
hmm,
and then I want you with the child, go who's standing behind the child.
hmm. She's a thin woman with she's very thin, kind of longish hair, a little bit longer than my shoulder. She's very thin. Um, and she has her hands on her shoulders, like kind of like in a protective way.
Wow, that's hard because
first thought I had was my granddaughter. I spend a
Mm,
lot of time with her, and we have a lot of stuffed animals, and she loves animals.
mm,
Um, but her mom is not tall and slim.
mm.
She's kind of short. I'm gonna have to maybe.
So Stephanie, what I'm going to encourage you to do is
Uh-huh.
go expand. It doesn't
Right,
have to be
right.
mom.
It
It could be
doesn't, yeah,
aunt,
it's
So
actually
it
it
could
not
be
could
been.
be
cousin, it
um,
could be grandma, it could be a family friend, it could be
okay.
go into the network, so to
Yeah,
speak.
I'm gonna have the other thing too is I'm a teacher. I have taught children that are 3, 4, and 5 years old, so I it could be one of those children. I'm just gonna have to ask Spirit to guide me a little bit with that. But yeah, I'm getting goosebumps, so there is some message there I know I'm supposed to come
Mhm.
to, but
Yep.
it's not really coming to me right now. But thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. I know there's a lot. Um, so that's another, this is a perfect example of when you're giving the message, give what you got.
Mhm.
And if you feel like you're at a living person, then more likely than not, the spirit person is standing behind them.
Okay.
And sometimes you just got to kind of pull it back and pull it back. And then for the sitter, this is a great opportunity for us as sitters to be understand that we have to be more expansive. Sometimes we get, you know, how we can get tunnel vision because we only want to hear from so and so, or we only know about so and so. And but being open to the fact that there are other possibilities also to kind of, and this is advice to us, it's just advice, isn't anybody did anything wrong. For also for the sitter is think about what you might have been thinking or doing in the past few days that might be connected to someone who's on the spirit side of life.
Mm.
And that could probably help. And it'll take, and for mediums, we all need to understand a lot of times when you bring a message to someone, in this case, we're doing animals to kind of soften everybody to feel comfortable. But we still can forget when someone says, "Can I bring you a message?" They go, "Uh, who?" You know, we can forget our name, we can forget our address, we can forget where we are. We kind of get, oh my God, shock. And so a lot of times the sitter can later on, days from now, and this has happened to me. I had someone actually write a horrible mediumship review for me, affidavit, saying I was completely wrong, didn't know what I was talking about, don't know where she got that from. And then literally the following Sunday came back and said, I am so sorry I wrote that affidavit. I totally got it on the way home. I didn't take it personally either way, but understand as mediums, we don't take, as long as you know that you're giving what your spirit is bringing to you and stay with that, that's going to be your validation. Because sometimes you are going to have people who are going to understand it until a week from now.
Okay.
So, but this is not Stephanie, you're doing something wrong, or Miriam, you did something wrong. This is just a wonderful opportunity to help with that trust with yourself and what you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Stephanie, I would like it if you gave Deborah an animal from spirit.
Some kind of large bird. Even when Charvon first asked us to come up with an animal, an eagle came to me. So I'm trying to ask if that's still the bird that's appropriate. But it is a bird that soars and glides and is a great hunter and a great, here I'm getting a great symbol of freedom.
Deborah, do you have any feedback on the eagle?
Yeah. We were certainly just talking about harpy eagles here at my house within the last 24 hours.
Wow.
And I a little bit like the vagueness about which bird because also barn owls are a very important physical symbol for me. And so yeah, I think I might also sit with this a little more and see what spirit has to say, but large bird, as soon as you said large bird, I was like, ah.
Can I add to it too? I'm getting
Yes.
just you're on the verge of just soaring.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Let your wings take you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Deborah, if you would see what spirit would like you to present to Arlene in animal form.
Yes. I'm seeing an animal with big eyes, and it immediately made me think of a dragon, but like a baby dragon, like the ones from How to Train Your Dragon with the big sort of cat-like eyes. So that was what came to me very clearly, specifically a black dragon. Um, yeah, that's what I have. And looking playful. Also, a child has joined me, so that's
I
part of
see.
the playfulness, possibly. All right, child, do not get on screen. You need to not be on screen, okay? Why? Because. All right, I'm gonna go off video, but I'll stay on audio.
Okay, cool. Arlene,
Dragons seem very nice. I don't,
so what I would suggest, write down black dragons in a childlike state with big eyes. Write that down. And then what I'm going to suggest for everybody to get more information from the animals that you're given, whether you identify them immediately or you're still mulling over it, before you go to bed tonight, say to spirit, hey, can you give me more information about this animal? Go to sleep. Next, and then when you get up the next day or whatever, keep an eye out for when spirit responds. Clara.
I don't know if we can do this here, but I could take that one if Arlene can't, because I'm literally sitting next to a wall of my daughter's black How to Train Your Dragons toys.
Oh,
And as soon as she said big eyes, I was like, How to Train Your Dragon. Like, I was like, it's a black dragon, and like they're literally all in front of me, like tons of toys. She has a whole wall of them.
so
And I'm envisioning the same thing. That's exactly what I was seeing. The How to Train Your Dragon.
Right?
so
She
that's
said
so
it was big
everybody
eyes.
who connect. And that's the other thing. If you connected with an animal that somebody else was given, spirit doesn't waste energy. So write it down. It can still be for Arlene, but it can also be for Clara, and it could also be for Ellen. The Giselle could have been for me and Ellen. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all here, we're all on that same energy link. The spirit's working through all of us. And sometimes we might need to hear things differently that we think is for somebody else for us to hear it.
Mhm.
Well, and let me add, just since it's popping for a couple of people, but Arlene, specifically for you, I can feel, wow, I can feel that spirit's asking me to tell you that there's something, like, I haven't seen this movie. I've seen the image of the dragon, but I haven't seen this movie, so I'm not talking from the movie, but uh I'm picturing the baby dragon nuzzling you in a way where you're its nurturer. So I think there's a nurturing message for you about you as a nurturing person.
Oh, thank you. It's
So
interesting though the concept of nurturing a dragon.
Yeah.
Very interesting to me.
It's a little like the strength card in tarot where she's got the lion, but she's just like patting it.
Yeah, yeah.
and then
That
also
made me
think
feel.
about Arlene. What I would want you to explore is your thoughts about dragons and connections to your connection, your thoughts about connecting with spirit? How out of the box that might be for you, and
Yeah,
nurturing that.
I think there's contradictory things. Um, yeah. I don't know how to
There's a lot there.
explain it. But anyways,
Yeah, let
I
me
do
suggest.
like that very much. I feel like I'm being asked to be stronger,
Mhm.
not necessarily just in that in mediumship, but just that I would have a pet dragon as opposed to a pet dog or cat, or means I would have to be strong because it's not just some little thing that I would have to be more strong. So I feel like I'm being asked somehow to step up a little bit.
Awesome. And see, Stephen also could take dragon. See, the dragon was for everybody.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Arlene, if it comes to you to do so, Google, and if you haven't, you may already know what I'm talking about, but Google that strength card in the tarot, because I think about that all the time when I'm thinking
Tarot
about,
card?
yeah, it's a tarot card and it's the strength card. And it is an image of
Strength card?
a weaker looking woman that has tamed this big lion. And I think that seems to me like what you're describing. So that's why I'm bringing it up again.
You don't
Awesome.
happen to know what suit or what number it is or anything?
It's a major arcana, but I
Pardon?
don't remember that. But all you have to do is type in strength tarot card.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, I
it.
don't know
And then
much
the
about
images will come. And then you can click on images and they'll show you the images of the card.
yeah, I don't know much about tarot cards, but I have one in my life.
Awesome. Oh,
And
someone put
there,
it in the
pardon?
right away. So there you go. All right. So Arlene, take a moment with spirit and ask them what animal to give Carol.
Oh, Carol. Oh my gosh.
Or what does your intuition say the animal should
So
be
this is something
Carol?
that means a lot to me.
It's
So
okay.
I don't know Carol, but I really like her just when I see her.
Mm-hmm.
So the animal I see is a giraffe.
A giraffe?
A giraffe, but giraffes, as we usually see them, are just kind of not so fantastic. But there's one zoo in California where they have the animals running free and you ride around in a cable car. And I saw a giraffe there, and it's the most beautiful animal in the world when you see it in a free situation and you see how large it is. And so, anyways, and that's what I thought of when I think when I'm relating to you, Carol.
Awesome. All right, Carol, do you want to be back on the giraffe?
I can't place anything immediately because I've never owned a giraffe or actually touched one or seen one in person other than on TV. So maybe this
Oh,
is like something
wow.
to go research, like if it's a symbol of something. But I mean, I just think of the long neck or whatever.
Where do you live?
In Maryland, Southern Maryland.
In Maryland. So, oh, I wish we could go to California. Giraffes in the wild are so incredibly beautiful. They're just incredible. They're sleek and their lines are just so nice, and the coloring anyways, yeah,
We're
And
gonna
on
it's
a,
have to go to the
lovely
zoo.
to see it. Yeah,
and on
yeah.
a different perspective, the
And
other
I am from
day,
California. I just live in Maryland now.
Well,
So there you go.
this is this it's
but
one of us. San Diego has two zoos, and one of them is this zoo where you're literally riding in cable cars, and the animals are free. It's very nice.
and a different perspective, the other day I was on the phone with my son, and he said we were talking about evolution, and he said, "Okay, so if there's no trees, what happens to the giraffe? How do they evolve?"
Pardon? Repeat that.
Evolution, and if so all of a sudden we don't have trees, what happens to the giraffe? How are they going to eat? How will they evolve? Do they next get shorter? So there might be something. So there's the connection to California because Carol's from California, but there's or maybe an invitation to go to the zoo, the local zoo, wherever zoo is in your area. Also, maybe there's a deeper meaning of like, what if? What's that next step? What's the evolution of where you're going? That can be also thrown in.
I don't think all the trees are going to go away.
I was also
I don't
thinking
either.
like a giraffe has such a
No.
tall
It's a
neck.
what if. It's a what if thing. It's not a this is what's going to happen. It's just looking further ahead, having a wider perspective,
Having
thinking.
a higher sight because the neck is so long, maybe it's sort of
Mhm.
looking past here and kind of going up a little bit.
Oh, it
And just
certainly can
because
see
if things
far.
change in your environment, how can you grow in it? What's your next evolution in that environment should the environment change? Does that make sense? Like you've always lived in this one house and then that house goes away.
So
Are,
I
are
think
you
it
still going to
makes
stay
they
stuck in
see
that house or
far.
are you going to evolve? Kind of thought process. Miriam.
Carol, one of your sayings is what? What are you always saying?
Onward and upward.
And upward.
Ellen.
Yeah, what comes to mind for me is the sleekness of the way the giraffe moves and the gracefulness. So
Yeah.
there's something about that too that keeps coming to mind in regards to Carol and your personality.
Thank you. This is like
Beautiful.
the message for everyone now.
I know, right? And that's usually how that works. All right. So, Carol, I would like you to give an animal from spirit to that spirit would like you to give to Clara.
Okay. I'm not getting it right this second, but when you first asked for an animal, I saw what I thought was a black crow or maybe a raven. And for some reason, I just knew that whoever I ended up coming to, that would be for them. So
All right. Clara, do you have any feedback on that?
I can take that. Yes, I love birds. I love birds, and I'm dressed all in black. Does that help? I love black. Love birds.
All right.
My favorite.
So, as we just did this short exercise, one of the things, if you didn't notice what happened, is that you guys began to build on your message. And that's what building on your message is. You start off with something simple like a bird. And if you're doing a mediumship reading or greeting, spirit greeting, or what have you, you can start off with giving a color or an animal and then grow it from there, grow the reading from there. So it starts off with, I see a black crow with Clara. I'm just using it as an example. I'm not actually seeing this. I see a black crow with Clara. And then I can go, but I also see a man standing holding the crow. I feel like that maybe he had tattoos. And I think he tattooed, one of his tattoos looks like it was some sort of animal. I'm not saying it's a bird, but it feels like it was like a black bird. I'm also seeing a feather connected to him. I don't know if the feather was a part of his wardrobe or if he had it tattooed on him. And then as you can see, I started off with the bird, but I'm now building into the message. So that is one avenue of getting your feet wet into doing mediumship readings where you don't pressure yourself in, okay, who would I have? What do they look like? Am I going to get this right? You can start with something as simple as, all right, spirit, give me a color. And then start with that. Or give me an animal for that person, or give me a donut. And then the other thing that happens, and it always happens, is that as mediums, we start to link up. When we're all starting to do messages, we start to link up, and then the messages that come through, or in this case, animals that came through, can now resonate with more than just the one person. It can resonate with the room because you might need more. You might have a pushy spirit loved one on the other side that still wants to talk. So they're going to use that opportunity that you're going to somebody else, also throw in something else with that. And so that you get that message too. There's all kinds of reasons why, but I, it's think I always, how I approach working in mediumship, especially working with spirit, people on the spirit side of life, is I work with them as I do with people here. I expect the same idiosyncrasies. I expect the same. There's the one that's going to overtalk. There's the one that's really shy. And then the one in between. There's the one who likes to pretend that they're a rough, tough cream puff. And then there's the one who's always melting. There's the one who's always nervous. Doesn't mean that anything's going to happen to you. It just means this is a nervous Nelly. That's example of their evidential mediumship and so forth. So that exercise is the one that I wanted. And then I want to leave you guys with an opportunity meditation that you can use as you want to work on developing your mediumship. Beyond the easiest would be write down your question before you go to bed. Asking spirit to give you a question. Write it down on a piece of paper before you go to bed at night and go to sleep on the question. And then wait for the answer. And not necessarily like look for the answer, right? It will come to you and then you can write it down. So that's an opportunity to start working and developing a relationship with spirit. One of the exercises I gave in one of my mediumship courses was I had told people to have spirit give you something that can be Google searched. Because that helps with your need for validation. It helps your need to trust what you're getting. So you go to spirit and you say, give me a person, place, or thing that I can search on Google. And an example I give is that when I was doing my trance work, one of the spirit guys that I worked with, my wife was my battery, and she's the one who took all the notes and everything. And I took the notes she took on one of them, went to Google and typed all of that into Google and just waited to see what popped up. My God. He existed, but he lied about who he was a little bit. And it was just, but it was his person, but based on what I learned about him, that was his personality. And so on and so forth. And then it would be months later that I would do, where I would decide, because I love doing ancestry, I decided to build his tree out. Turns out he's like the 10th cousin of my wife. Because at one point I got to the point in his lineage when I went, hey, that's on her tree too. He's your cousin. That kind of thing. But that's a more extreme example. But I found that helped me in terms of my continuing with my trance work and continuing to do. But it's the same thing with mediumship, with mental mediumship. You may want to start with, give me something that I can search later. So that way I don't feel like I'm the crazy one in the room. If that's helpful. And that's all I have. Do you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns? Because I still work in corporate America, so I come up with questions, comments, and concerns. Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time to this evening. I know we went over by a half hour, but I am grateful that you were able to stay. I hope you got from it some, if nothing else, a good time. You had some fun with it. But I hope that you all take that opportunity. Even those of you out there watching this later down the road, take the opportunity to get to know yourself and connecting with the spirit within, if that feels the most safest and comfortable for you to start, and then expand. And there are plenty of churches and opportunities and places and people everywhere who will be more than happy to work with you. But spirit always wants to work with you if you choose to work with Spirit. Now, before we end, I want you all to take a breath in because we're gonna come back to ourselves. So take a breath in and just thank Spirit for working with you, showing your gratitude. Exhale and welcome back. Thank you all. It was a great evening.
Thank you.
Siobhan, will you give our benediction?
Yes, I will give our benediction. All right. Thank you, Spirit, for allowing us all to be able to trust and love and have the faith and guidance to work with each other, to work with you. Thank you for inspiring us to grow and to expand and to evolve into our better, best, and highest self. May we all walk away with knowing that you will work with us in love, in peace, and in light. And may we carry that forth as we go about our days. And so it is. Thank you.